A lot of people are always hung up on the interest rate on their house, interest rate on their car. But what if we told you it's not the rate, it's the volume that's killing you? What's up, everybody? I'm Jonah. This is Jeremiah. We are the Banking Bros with the Money Multiplier, and thanks for tuning in on the episode today. We're gonna have a good time.
All right,
walking through. It's gonna be a little visual today, so
we love it. We're
if you're
help
just
people
listening via Apple or Spotify or whatever you're listening on, you actually probably want to tune in to our YouTube channel where you can actually get some of these visuals. And so today we're actually going to walk through really a kind of a scenario that someone called in on our line and kind of asked us. And we're just going to kind of walk through the nuances of their scenario, what we instructed them, the advice we gave them, and of course, just kind of break down the numbers as we go through it. We thought that if it was helpful for him, it would definitely be helpful for you. So that's what we're going to go through.
So this guy, ladies and gentlemen, is a real person who's a part of the Cash Compound and the Banking Bros environment, and he really has a policy. We were walking him through it. It's one of the things Jonah does in the tools environment. We help people and customize the experience for them, complimentary after they get started with infinite banking.
That's right.
So Jonah, catch us up. This dude had gotten a policy very recently.
Yeah, his policy is only about 30 days old or so. And I believe he put in a good lump sum of money to his policy to get started. I think it was about $40,000.
Okay, cool.
Is what he dumped into his policy right away. That's his annual payment. He's actually going to do that each and every year, $40,000.
40 grand. Remember, he picked that number.
Yeah, he picked it, right?
Yeah, and you can do that. That's an annual payment. You could break it down to monthly if you want to divide it by 12, right? So he's got that. And he's got
that's what he did. So he did 40,000. That's the number he picked. He put all the money in there up front. He also let the insurance company know that he might come into a little bit more money throughout the year. So he told them up front, hey, I very possibly could come into about another $100,000 this year. And if that's okay, I want to be able to give it to you guys in the first year of the policy.
Now, what does that mean, Jonah? Because 40,000 is his premium.
That's his premium. That's what the number he picked, right?
So the extra is possible.
So that's actually the technical term is called a dump in or a lump sum, literally the technical term. And it's very possible you can totally do it, but you've got to let the insurance company or us, we're the ones designing the policy. You've got to let us know up front. You cannot do it after the fact. If you start a policy and say, listen, I want to put in $40,000 each year, and 6 months later you go, oh, I've got more money. The answer is no. The insurance company is not letting you do that.
Too much.
But if you tell them up front, listen, I've got 40, I'm going to pay you 40, but I want to have the option to do a little bit more, and you have a figure that you're going to tell them you're shooting for, they'll let you do it.
So what we're trying to say here is that every policy is custom.
That's right.
And there's a way to actually dump or lump sum in some extra dollars on top of your regular premium. But ladies and gentlemen, once again, premium is level. It does not change. And the premium is what everything else is based off of. So you need to pick the premium.
That's right. Okay. So he calls in. He's got two questions. His first question was, listen, I've got the $100,000 additional dollars that I told the insurance company I was going to put in. I've got that sitting in a qualified plan right now. I could totally take it from my qualified plan, put it in my privatized banking policy, but I need to know how fast can I turn around and get the money out of that banking policy, the cash value, because I'm trying to buy a house.
So
that was his first question.
So these are real life scenarios for a lot of people. He knows that he wants to borrow from his policy. Now that'd be cash value.
That's right.
Okay. So he wants to put in premium, borrow out cash value, and use it right away. He knows he has a goal.
That's right. Cool. So of course I answered that question for him. We always say pretty generically, within 30 days, immediately. Our definition of immediate is within 30 days, but he had a specific goal in mind. He was actually purchasing the house on the 25th of the month. So if you are live with us, it's not the 25th yet. That's actually coming up. This is a call I recently took. So I had to give him the practical number. I said, listen, it's going to take you 14 days at this company. 14 days when you put that deposit in before you can take the money back out. So again, well within our time frame, we always say of within 30 days. But when he needed that practical kind of
closing,
he's closing, right? right. We got to let him. Yeah, we got to let him know. Yeah. You can get money out a little faster than that, I told him, but of course you've got to turn in a bank statement, some other stuff to make sure that the payment has to clear.
Exactly. The check has to clear for the company.
So that was his first question. So he says to me after I give him that information, he says, "Okay, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take the $100,000 out of my qualified plan and throw it into the policy.
Okay.
The time frame is going to be a little too close for me. I don't want to be sweating bullets. I'm not doing it. I will still put the money in a little later. I'll just wait for my house to sell or whatever it was that he was, because he's doing a house transaction coming up here, right?" Mm-hmm. So I said, "Okay, cool, no worries," but I wanted to answer that question for him. Then he hits me with another question, which is really the topic of our episode today.
All right.
He says to me, "Listen, I'm buying a house, and the house is $100,000 asking price.
Okay.
So I'm going to assume, I didn't ask him, but I'm going to assume this is an investment property, a rental property, a flip, something like that. Okay.
Right.
Says I'm buying a house. The asking price is $100,000, and I have that, as we just talked about.
Okay.
I have that in my qualified plan.
Yep.
But at the same time, I only have to put down 10%,
right,
which is $10,000. He says, but everyone keeps telling me, everyone around me, so I don't know who's influences him, his family, his friends, his coworkers, HR at work, stuff he's hearing on the internet or radio. He says, everyone around me says I should put down 20% so that way I can get out of the PMI, the private mortgage insurance.
I've heard that.
Okay, cool. So how that works, just in case those who are following us at home, is if you put down, if you've got at least 20% down or 20% equity in your home, you no longer have to pay private mortgage insurance. Private mortgage insurance generally is going to be $80, $100 a month or something. It's going to be tacked on to your mortgage payment.
Yep.
So if your mortgage payment you were expecting was $1,200, now it's $1,300 because you've got this PMI, this private mortgage insurance. So he says, I think I should put down more money so I can get out of the PMI. He says, help me, what should you do?
Let's do some math is what he's wondering. Is this the actual financial good idea or not?
That's right. So, of course, the first thing that I mentioned to him are the benefits between using your policy's cash value and using your own money, right? Because he hit me with that equation first. He says, should I put down a percentage, 10 or 20, using cash value because I've got it, or should I take all 100,000 out of that qualified plan and just buy this thing outright?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Got it.
So the first thing I went through is, well, what's the difference between using cash value and just using your own money? So I'll ask you that question. What do you think? Okay. What do you think that I walked him through? What do you think I told him?
So reminder, everybody, that when you pay, we had an episode, actually our previous episode to this, I believe, was talking about paying cash for things or using cash value, using a policy. Okay, so the difference here is that when you take dollars out of cash value in your policy, your premium dollars are still there compounding. Okay, so if you use cash, you're losing out on the opportunity to have your dollars continue to work for you. R. Nelson Nash, the founder of the concept, says that you're financing everything you buy. You either pay for it by paying people interest who you borrowed money from, or you lose out on what your money could do. So I think, of course, you told him to pull cash value as a loan.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I told him. So I kid you not, from the jump, I'm saying, listen, taking the money out of your qualified plan is off the table. We're not doing it.
Okay.
Think about it again. It's the same perspective that you just said. That's $100,000 that you're giving away. Now it can no longer earn money for you. Now I know some people at home are sitting there going, but then I don't have any interest, right? Because I have bought the house, so I don't have any interest. Right. So it's the same, but it's just a math equation, everybody.
Okay.
It's okay. Well, if you're not paying interest, but you also can't earn interest because you used all of your money, you're not doing anything. You're not going anywhere.
You're going, what we said in the last episode, you're going back to zero.
You're just going right back to zero.
Because now you don't have any money.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So
I said, that's off the table. We're not doing it. First thing, of course, is we're going to use cash value from your insurance policy to make this happen. So now we have a new math equation. Well, am I putting 10% down? Am I putting 20% down? Or am I doing something different?
Okay.
So I actually pulled up our computer program. I shared my screen with him. We did a Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, let's look at the numbers. So we put in $100,000 as his home mortgage asking price.
Yes.
10%. It was a 30-year mortgage he was going to get. The interest rate was like 4.5%, 4.5 or 3.5, something like that.
So
it was pretty standard.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
I said, let's throw in $10,000, your down payment. That's our first equation, right? $10,000 down payment. When we did that, his interest paid over the lifetime of the loan,
30 years,
all 30 years, was $74,000. I said, listen, if you give them 10% down, you will spend an additional extra, leaving your family forever, $74,000 when this is all said and done.
$174
is what the house cost you, right?
Got you.
He says, oh, don't like that, right? First initial reaction, ooh, nope, right? Don't like that. It's basically double. I mean, they're pushing double on the house, right? So then I said, all right, let's type in 20,000, 20% down. So we backspace 10,000, we type in 20,000. His interest paid over the lifetime of the loan, so this is all 30 years, on $20,000 down payment was $66,000. So
we went from 70 plus to 66.
74 to 66.
66.
That's a difference of $8,000. Does that make sense?
10,000 more.
I'm going to give them 10,000 up front. For me to save 8,000 over 30 years. Does this make sense? So a lot of people, but here's the problem. Everyone on the internet and everyone who's teaching you, they don't run any math. They say it because it sounds good, but they don't do any due diligence in proving to you.
Would you pay 20 grand or 10 grand extra? Would you pay $10,000 to save 8 over
I wouldn't.
30 years?
I wouldn't.
Right.
There's no chance I would, right? Does that make sense? Like
the math.
Who would do if that's the equation that you presented with someone, who would do it?
No one.
No one would do that.
Like no one would.
Right.
That's not
but almost anybody who's on these internets and socials and all this stuff, they'll tell you, oh, definitely got to put that 20% down, get out of the PMI. I've seen that all over the place. It doesn't make any sense.
I have too.
It doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't do it, right? So then we punched in the 20,000. I told him it's $66,000 in interest, right? So now we're putting an extra 10,000 in to only save us 8,000 over 30 years. That's nuts, right? Terrible decision. I said, what about this? I said, and I'm not saying this is the best option for everybody, but in this particular case, I just wanted to prove to this guy or show this guy a different avenue. So I said, what about this? What if we threw in $10,000? That's his minimum required down payment.
Got to put it in
because of the loan that he had. He can't just do 5% down or 3% down or whatever. He couldn't do it. So this is a real life scenario. The guy says, I have to do 10,000. So that's 10,000 down. I said, all right, cool. What if we threw 10,000 down and then we took the extra 10,000? Again, he's got this in cash value.
He's got it
in his policy. We took the extra 10,000 and we just threw it on your mortgage the second you got a mortgage. So not giving them 20,000 as a down payment, $10,000 as a down payment, and as soon as you get that mortgage, you throw another 10,000 on the mortgage. So out of your pocket, still 20,000 coming out of his policy, but 10 went to the mortgage and 10 went to the down payment. When we did that, we punched in the numbers. His interest paid, remember, 10,000 down was 74,000 interest. 20,000 down was $66,000 of interest. We do that method, $10,000 to the down payment, 10,000 after he gets started. The interest that this guy paid over a 30-year note was $50,000.
Look at that.
$50,000. So that's a difference of $24,000.
And the same amount of money.
Same amount of down payment, same amount of money. It's a difference of $24,000 from the $10,000 down payment and a difference of $16,000 from the $20,000 down payment that he would save over the course of his mortgage, 30 years.
Look at that. And that's math anyone can do.
Anyone can do. So again, when I tell this guy that, he's like, flabbergasted, right? You know what I mean? He's like, what in the world happened? And I'm going, it's volume. It's the amortization. I always mess up the word. Amortization of the mortgage, how they do mortgages. Now, most of you guys know at home, what that means is your payment to the mortgage stays the same. It does not move.
Right, because you put 10 grand down. So your mortgage payment
stays the same, right? Everybody knows that. Mortgage payments, rent payments, they're generally the same. Now, rent, they'll move on you and all that stuff, right? Because it renews each year, right?
Probably.
But mortgage payments, they're going to stay the same unless you do something like refinance. This is the same mortgage payment. But the amount of money that's going to interest or the amount of money that's going to the principal changes every month.
Look at that.
So when they amortize a mortgage, they front load the mortgage with all the interest. Does this make sense?
Yes, they do.
So by putting an extra $10,000 to the mortgage mortgage the second that you get the mortgage, that's what saved you $16,000 worth of interest or $24,000 worth of interest, respectively, just depending on which down payment option you were looking at.
Over the course of 30 years.
Over the course of 30 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, some of you are really going to rethink the mortgages you have, right? Because you did that 20% down trying to avoid PMI, but you never actually did math or looked at mortgage and how they front load interest.
Exactly.
So if you do that, it'll change the game completely. And look how much less this guy has to pay in volume over the course of 30 years. He's saving $11,000 using the same amount of dollars out of his cash value system in this case.
That's right. So that was the example that I walked through with the gentleman who just called and had those questions. Honestly, so using this exact same method of the minimum down payment, putting extra on the mortgage, we've got a rental property that we've got currently where we've employed this exact same method. So over the course of our loan, $185,000 house we purchased just last year, right? Right. $185,000 house. Over the course of our loan, we're only going to end up paying $10,000 of interest. That's it.
Love to hear.
Right? And our house is going to pay off in about 5 years as opposed to 30 or whatever it is. So it's the same method. So we'll have to go through those numbers here coming up on an episode. We'll walk you through what we did to pay $10,000 of interest on an $185,000 house, where the average person, the traditional home buyer, might have paid $120,000 worth of interest, right? So I have to go through that. So anyway, that was just the example I wanted to walk you through, because a lot of people just aren't realizing it's not the interest rate that's killing you.
Yeah, we didn't talk about
it's
the 4%
the
to 5%.
volume of interest.
It's not that. Do some math, people.
It's the volume of interest, right? Yeah. It's when he gets that mortgage for 3.5%, 4%, 4.5%, whatever it was, and then he gets that first bill, the amount of interest on that first bill is not equivalent to 3 or 4% interest.
80%.
It's 80% of that bill is going to be interest.
You've seen it on your mortgage
and you've
statements.
seen that on your stuff as well. That's what so anyway, I just wanted to walk you through that example because we were able to help someone just recently this last week kind of think through that process and determine what's actually going to be the best financial sense for them. And I wanted to, if we could help that person, we could absolutely help you.
So if you want help with this idea, if you have a policy with us, of course, this is a custom and complimentary conversation. CCC, we're happy to do this. This is what Jonah and the Tools team will walk you through to help you understand how to properly utilize your policy and stop letting money leave your family forever. It's the interest you're paying to other people that's killing you. What if you could just keep what you already have and make? Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it's all about here at the Cash Compound. We're the Banking Bros, helping you understand cracking the code to cash flow. Hit us up, subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.